This episode of the LCTV News is brought to you by Leo Inc., Daolis Brothers Construction, and King Movers and Storage.
Hello, Lynners and all others watching. Contrary to the weather we're having, we are already in the second to last week of May. This week, community was the name of the game for both headlines and event coverage. More organizations are offering ways to get involved, from free performances to community service initiatives. Then finish your week off with a soulful celebration at Final Fridays, highlighted in this week's Lowdown. Here's the news for Friday, May 23rd, 2025. On May 14, 1850, Lynn officially became a city. 175 years later, to the day, Lynn celebrated this milestone with speeches, performances by the All-City Band, and English JROTC, finished off with the fountain at the Common being turned on once more.
But I'm most proud of all the people that are here today that really embody that culture and that history of 175 years.
On April 10th, the charter was enacted by the legislature. On April 18th, 1850, the charter was presented to the voters. There was a referendum. 234 votes were cast, 1,047 for, 987 against. Lynn became a city by a margin of 60 votes.
Together we can. Y'all got, I'm Dominican again, I have to hear it louder than that. Together we can. Lynn is love.
Lynn is love.
And may love flow like water from that fountain in this city. Thank you.
175 years later, we again look out on positive momentum here in our community and turbulence in national affairs. A fountain won't save us, but if anything can, it's the enduring values articulated in those resolutions, the values of inalienable rights and the sovereignty of the people. And we gather today in the name of those values and all that we have, all that we hold, and all that we do in common.
For the full ceremony, go to lyntv.org. On Monday, May 19th, the City of Lynn announced their proposal to double the exemption on personal property taxes for small business owners and property taxes for disabled veterans. Through Mayor Nicholson's direction, Director of Assessing Christopher Gaeta will submit a proposal to the City Council that will double the personal property tax exemption for small business owners from $5,000 to $10,000. Under the current policy, business owners are responsible for paying personal property taxes on items such as computers, monitors, printers, and other machinery. The tax exemption was increased from $1,000 to $5,000 in 2021, but under Mass General Laws, Chapter 58, Section 5, municipalities have the option of exempting up to $10,000 in personal property taxes. If this exemption is increased, the city would collect $46,000 less in taxes, which amounts for less than 0.5% of the current total personal property tax, which totals $9.5 million. They would also become the 67th community to adopt the $10,000 exemption. The City of Lynn is also suggesting an increase in property tax exemption for veterans with 100% service-connected disability from $1,000 to $2,000 annually. For veterans with at least a 10% service-related disability, this exemption would go from $400 to $800. The City Council is expected to vote on these exemptions this month, and if approved, they would take effect starting fiscal year 2026 on July 1st. Lynn is one of several communities on the North Shore to receive funding from the Essex County Community Foundation's Creative County Initiative, a regional effort to strengthen arts and culture through strategic investments. Raw Artworks was awarded a partnership grant to bring their initiative, Shine on Lynn, to life, a series of youth-created, community-engaged public art installations and placemaking projects in a collection of places downtown. This is a collaborative effort between Raw Artworks, the Planning Department, Lynn Arts and Culture Office, GE Aerospace, and the Lynn Museum and Arts Center. A total of 8 projects were selected in this round of funding, sharing $110,000 to support cultural initiatives and vitality. Additionally, Boston Comics Art Foundation received a $50,000 Creative County Special Grant and will be bringing an interactive comics camp to Lynn. This project is designed to empower youth aged 10 to 18 to tell their own stories through comics. Lynn Public Schools held their annual Early Childhood Literacy Night at the Lynn Tech Annex Building last Thursday. Organized in conjunction with many other organizations, this event provides information to families while also providing a range of hands-on activities for the kids.
Yep, so this is a really important community event where we bring together community partners, early learning preschool programs, Lynn Public School educators to share information with families and community stakeholders about all the great things we have happening here in Lynn for young kids. So we're sharing nutrition information, toddler preschool programs, LPS registration information, literature, all kinds of different community information from different stakeholders in the City of Lynn. So our theme tonight is STEAM. Our goal was to engage children in hands-on activities that they can enjoy that are connected to literature to foster that lifelong love of reading. I just love seeing the families and children light up. I'm sure you'll see all the great activities we have going on. We have a water table, we have balancing, we have STEAM, we have art, all kinds of great things. Kids dancing, music and movement, storyteller. So it's really great because we can really help anyone that comes tonight with information or activities that they might want to be part of. It's a really great opportunity to build community. That's part of why we wanted to give back by offering the raffles this year. We thought it was a really great way to just say thank you to everyone for coming. People who came through the door got a ticket, and we're also trying to collect some data and information from families. So we wanted to reward that with a couple of extra tickets and chances to win a prize. I just really would like to, on behalf of Lynn Public Schools and CFCE, I just want to extend a really big thank you to our advisory council, our community partners, and all of the volunteers tonight for their hard work. This really is a collaborative effort. I don't do this alone. And an extra big shout out to Kathy Tarosian, who is my CFCE coordinator. Never could have put this together without her. So we really just love the community that it builds.
Save the Harbor, Save the Bay is once again a recipient of a Better Beaches grant in the amount of $31,500 to host free events and programs throughout the summer. This grant funding is made possible through the Better Beaches program partnership with the Department of Conservation and Recreation. Grantees will bring free programming to 13 beaches along the coast. 80 organizations received grants this year, along with a dozen cities and towns. For Lynn specifically, they will be holding a series of concerts at Red Rock Park, surfing, outdoor painting, all free and open to everyone in the community. This year, the Better Beaches program is expected to draw 50,000 attendees to 200 free events and programs in the 13 communities. The weather held off for the Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach summer cleanup last Saturday the 17th. Several dozen volunteers showed up to clean both Kings Beach and Red Rock Park as we enter into the summer season.
Red Rock Park was flooded with volunteers for the Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach summer cleanup
the morning of the 17th. While most of the volunteers were local, there were people representing communities from Swampscott to Sudbury who showed up to pick up trash and beautify the beach. Sponsored by Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach, DCR Massachusetts, and Pick Up Mass, this cleanup has become an annual way to kick off the summer season. After enjoying some coffee and donuts and signing in, volunteers got to work. Some chose to stay on the upper level of the park, while others wandered down to the beach itself to collect trash. The most common items found were bottle caps, cans, and cigarette butts. Buckets were also provided, and several featured images of items most commonly mistaken for food by turtles and other marine life. Volunteers, from kids to older adults, all came together to do their part to keep our environment safe and clean for all. For LCTV News, I'm Danny Vittori. Beginning in mid-April, the ferry schedule was adjusted and speeds reduced to 10 knots to protect the critically endangered North Atlantic right whales. But the Lynn Ferry resumed its normal schedule and speed on Thursday, May 15th, with weekend service beginning on May 17th. Weekend service will run through Sunday, October 12th, with weekday service operating until Wednesday, November 26th. Parking will once again be free for all commuters in the Blossom Street lot. The ferry will run through the summer, providing both commuters and visitors with a more convenient, eco-friendly way of traveling between Lynn and Boston. During the week, the first ferry departs Lynn at 6 a.m., and the final boat arrives back at 7:55 p.m. On the weekends, service does not begin until 8 a.m., but runs until 8:25 p.m. Additionally, Blue Line service between Bowdoin and Orient Heights will be suspended for 9 days, from June 7th through the 15th. Free shuttle buses will make stops at all stations between Government Center and Orient Heights. Airport Station will also be closed during the service change, but the busway will remain open. The Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women is looking to collect a more current picture of life for women in the Commonwealth in 2025. This new data collection is a follow-up to their COVID research series. Between 2020 and 2022, the MCSW released several reports outlining the impact of COVID-19 and accompanying recommendations to improve the lives of all women in Massachusetts. Now 5 years since the onset of COVID-19, MCSW is again asking for feedback, which will inform public policies aimed at advancing women towards complete equity in all areas of life. Additionally, they are looking to create greater opportunities for women to change or improve their lives. This survey is available in English, Spanish, Portuguese, Mandarin, and Haitian Creole. Any questions regarding the survey should be directed to MCSW programs. A new season is bringing with it new events. One such celebration took place over Buchanan Bridge and the adjoining park with the first ever Springfest. Organized by Ward 2 Councilor Obed Matul and the Floating Bridge Pond Association, families were invited to participate in games, learn about the history of the bridge, and pet several animals.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Obed Matul. I am the Ward 2 City Councilor. I am here today with the Floating Bridge Pond Association right at Buchanan Bridge. We're celebrating our first ever Springfest along with my team. I want to thank everybody who helped make this possible. So one of the things that I noticed when I was campaigning around this area, this neighborhood, I realized that there was a lot of trash around the bridge. There was a lot of trash around the pond. People were fishing where they shouldn't be.
A couple of years ago when I was running for City Council, I met Obed, and he was elected the Ward 2 Councilor. And not too long after that, he informed me that he was going to form the Floating Bridge Pond Association. And he asked me to serve on the board, and we formed the board, and we have a really active and fun group of people. And we cleaned the area up several times already. We planted flowers.
And then we actually did a massive cleanup last October. We removed 3 truckloads of trash, and we also removed a lot of tree branches. We had the Lynn Veterans Council earlier talk about the history of the pond, how the bridge is named after a U.S. veteran. Matthew L.C. Buchanan. He was a veteran in World War I from Lynn. He was killed in action in 1922, so the bridge was dedicated to him, and that's why it's called the Buchanan Bridge. We wanted to create something that would pull people in, so we actually partnered with the Mass Cultural Council and the Lynn Cultural Council, who helped us with the grant to make this possible. So we created the first ever Spring Fest at the pond. So today we had food for everybody, we had free lemonade, we had foster care to be here helping us because there's a lot of children. We had Shiloh McDonald, who is a wildlife photographer, talk about the wildlife that we have here, about different kinds of birds, different kinds of animals. And we also had, obviously we had a lot of games, a lot of activities, a lot of painting, arts and crafts for kids. And right now we have the Curious Creatures, which has been a hit with all the little kids.
And today we have a family day. We've been planning this for about 8 months. And the highlight of the day has been Curious Creatures with all the animals, and the kids are all excited. We had a great DJ and hot dogs, and it's a great party today. And we're proud of our neighborhood and proud of our city.
May is Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and the City of Lynn held their celebration last Tuesday the 20th. Attendees got the opportunity to learn more about these cultures through art, food, and performances. City Hall was the place to be on Tuesday night, as there were multiple events happening in the foyer and auditorium. In the foyer, the City of Lynn was hosting their Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month celebration. AANHPI Heritage began as a week-long celebration in 1978, before Congress passed a bill in 1990 expanding the celebration to a month. Then in 1992, May was officially designated as AANHPI Heritage Month. At this event, several local vendors were selling products, such as homemade earrings from A Head Full of Stars, stained glass sculptures from Canch by Kalika, and Sid Kid sweatshirts. For those interested in the food aspect, there was That Baker Jen, Eros Boba and Crepes, along with free meals from the health department, and snacks representing multiple cultures. On the upper level, attendees could try their hand at a DIY earring workshop with Cinda's Crafts. After more mingling and shopping, there were performances representing both Vietnamese and Khmer traditional dances. All in all, a night of culture, celebration, and community. For LCTV News, I'm Danny Vittori. Lynn has more than 300 nonprofit organizations, and another one was just added in January of this year. The Millennium Latino Project was founded by 2 Lynners who saw a disconnect between entrepreneurs and businesses and dedicated themselves to correcting this in a unique way. But I will let them tell you more on the first Lowdown. Hello and welcome back to the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Danny Vittori, and today we welcome on a very new nonprofit, the Millennium Latino Project. Thank you both for joining us today.
Hi, thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Danny.
So you are the 2 founders of this, so would you be able to just quickly introduce yourselves and talk a bit about your nonprofit?
Sure. I'm Stephanie Herrera Rios. I'm the co-founder of Millennium Latino Project, and the reason we founded this fun networking group is more to connect with the community. So we love to serve all of our entrepreneurs and our business professionals, but we're also trying to bring the element of community within that. So we like to do initiatives with the community, not just for networking and getting referrals, but also giving back to the community.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm Edwin Rosales. I'm Edwin Rosales, co-founder of Millennium Latino Project, and so examples of initiatives that take place with us is we're creating opportunities for connection, and we held a coat drive in November We're hosting a bachata night, which we're collecting diapers for 3 nonprofits, which is Centerboard, NAM, and Mamas Unidas. So, we're creating those opportunities for connection, but also a way to, give back to the community.
So it's a mix of both networking, entrepreneurship, but then also giving back to the community. That seems like that's
exactly.
your thing.
Yeah, that's our thing.
Yes, that's our thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I even went to one, I know that's where I met both of you, was the Coffee with Counselors, which was another kind of mixed thing where people could go ask questions. It seemed like it went very successfully.
Yes, it did. It was a really good time. We had a great turnout. We got an opportunity to just meet with the counselors, just face-to-face, ask them all the great questions that they had, got to learn about what they do and what their role within their ward is, which is really important because civic engagement is so important here in the City of Lynn. Because even if we think about politics on a bigger scale, we have to think about who is our leaders and what are they doing for us.
Right. Yeah, so the idea was, so like she said, civic engagement, and then, just the younger generation, to get them involved, like, you can go to these people. People they're going to start voting. They're 18 years old. We have members that are 19 years old, and maybe this is their first time voting, or they just don't know that they can vote locally. So that was the intention behind it too. It's kind of just get a face, get a conversation with them, and just know who is on that ballot. Yeah. So that was the idea behind that.
Which is obviously a really important thing for everyone to know about, who is helping run the city, helping run your ward. Larger counselors, whichever they are.
Right.
And you did mention another event that's coming up, the bachata night, if I said that correctly.
You did.
Yes, so
Sweet.
that, we always like fun networking things to do, right? So we could connect. It's also a way that you could give back to the community. So instead of an entry fee, you actually bring a box of diapers.
Oh, nice.
And then you get to connect with your community. We have an instructor there, and we have a DJ. So it's actually going to be a fun night. You get to meet professionals and entrepreneurs in your community, and also just regular people that are going to come and have a good time, support these organizations, because diapers are important.
Yeah.
Having children myself, I know how expensive it could get, so just having these organizations who provide these services, why not support them as well?
And like you were saying, having something that's kind of a fun networking event. I know I've gone to networking before, and if you don't really have anything to do, you're kind of just sitting there going, I don't know what to do right now. I feel kind of weird, but that gives you an activity, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's also the idea behind Millennium Latino projects, because we've been in the networking space for a little bit, and it can be a little stuffy or at least intimidating for the newer professionals, newer entrepreneurs, and we wanted to create a welcoming space where it's come as you are. Don't wear your suit and tie, or don't wear your dress, or however people come dressed, but just come as you are and have fun, get to know people, and just natural conversations.
And you have a whole variety of events that you have done and ones that have coming up, like resume building, brand building, budgeting, all of those kind of. Would you be able to talk about some of those and sort of what you learned from them?
Yeah, of course. So for this year, we actually started out really strong with all of our workshops. We've had an insurance class for small businesses so they could know what their coverages should be, especially when you're a small business, you just think it's one way, but then when you actually talk to the professionals, to the ones who are master of their crafts, you're like, okay, so maybe I'm underinsured. So that's really important. We had other workshops, innovation workshops, where you actually get to test out your product or your service before you bring it to market. So it's a really good example to be like, instead of investing all of it, test it out, see how it goes. So having a workshop like that, giving ideas and different opportunities, especially when you're a young entrepreneur or you're a business professional, you're saying what's going to work, what's not going to work, and the cost behind that. Why not get a different way, a way to innovate within your own business? And then we also try to do like the resume workshop that is in April. That one is a good way for professionals to come connect with us. Be like, let's help you with your resume. Maybe you're shifting in careers, or maybe you just want to build something new within your career. Why not talk to the experts there, and we get to connect with you and see how we could better support you in your journey.
And that one, the resume workshop, we're doing in collaboration with Lynn Hispanic Scholarship Fund.
Great.
So it's also geared to the high school students who are also maybe stepping into college and applying for scholarships. So it's just a combination of like emerging professionals and high school students that can come and benefit.
I know that would have been, and still is really useful for me. I feel like I'm always learning, what's the best ways to approach professionals, ways to have, learn from them, but also, always put your best foot forward. It can be kind of convoluting sometimes, so it's great that you're giving them an option to do that in manners that are a little less intimidating, I guess, like you said was the word.
Yeah. Yes. We're very casual. We try to meet you at where you are, and we know that these spaces could sometimes, cause some anxiety. So we want to make sure that, like, when you come to us, whether it's just a one-on-one or any of our events, we want to connect with you. We want, to know where you are and how we could support you. Because I feel like in our community, we should all be supporting each other, whatever stages we are in our journeys.
And you have multiple ways for people to get involved. You can become members, there's sponsorship, there's a variety of ways to get involved. So if anyone is really interested in that, would you be able to give a little bit about how they can go about doing that?
Yeah, so if you can become a member, right? So when you do become a member, we always love to meet with the person, like, one-on-one. But you can go on Instagram. We have our application there for membership. It's really just collecting your information, and then we're gonna get to know about you, like, in person. It's not a really in-depth application. The sponsorship opportunities. So we do host these events, and those sponsorships help us. They fund our initiatives, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to pay for speakers, and it comes with money, providing food for the viewers.
Of course, yeah.
So we have those sponsorship opportunities that we do have it listed on our website, but it's always we always like the conversation. So it's always feel free to reach out, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or our email.
We love when our community is so giving. So as of this point, we really everyone we talk about our initiatives and everything. Everyone's always so giving. So we actually offer most of all of our events for free.
Yeah.
Wow,
if it's
that's
not
great.
just bringing a coat or diapers for the diaper drive, we wanted to make it accessible because I feel like when you're starting out, you want to put your best foot forward, like you said, Danny. And how could you do that if you don't have all these resources or the money to get all these classes for yourself? So why not make it accessible to the community when you're ready to go to these big networking groups? You already know about your brand, you already know how to speak on yourself, and you feel a lot more confident with who you're presenting in your business.
And one thing I loved, or I really thought was interesting that you were talking about, was expanding upon what Lynn already has to offer was another huge piece of your brand. And I was really curious what you meant by that.
Yeah. Right. So we can both speak on that, but I guess the idea is that Lynn has so much to offer. So we're in these spaces that we're learning about all these different organizations that, whether it's like E4All, for instance, they offer these accelerator programs for small businesses or entrepreneurs. So that's just an example. So there's something that you can take advantage of within the community, and then just put in that forward, right? We can go make those connections, and then you don't have to go through a database, find out what it is that's going on, but we love to just get to know what's going on and then put it in front of whether you're a member or not, but get it in front of our audience, whoever follows us, whoever's a member, whoever just engages with us.
And Lynn has so much to offer, so it's everywhere. And when people are asking for resources or how to connect or who should they talk to, I feel like as the co-founders of Millennium Latino Project, where we live and breathe our mission, we're the ones that should be out there gathering this information for you, making those introductions, making it less intimidating, making it more accessible to you. So let's say you want to, talk to a counselor or even talk to someone in office. If we know them and we can make that introduction to you, it will be way more accessible to you. So that's the whole point of it, is Lynn has so many resources. We're trying to touch every single one of them so we could bring the right people to the resources that they need. And
like you said, connect with the people, help them make the connections, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel of, okay, I can't provide all these services, but I know this person who can, and I can know this other person. Then all of a sudden you have this whole network.
Yes, and that's funny because that's something we say all the time. We're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
We're just creating a community to then give you access to that.
Yeah, and we live on not gatekeeping.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's no gatekeeping. If there's any resources you need, we'll find it for you. If there's any resources you believe that we should be looking into, we're going to look for it as well. So it's always about getting the information to the right people, especially the ones who don't really necessarily know how to access them. So that's where the non-gatekeeping, unkeeping the gates.
Unkeeping the gates. That was the name of our first, when we first had our soft launch.
Oh, really?
We are presenting it in front of a smaller crowd, right? We called it Unkeep the Gates just because that's
I like that, though. That's cool. You know what? I like it.
We like to give it fun titles to, to our, like the resume one. We did resume blueprint. So it's just like, you know, we like to be a little playful.
But I like that, though. It's more engaging.
Yeah.
You said it really fits the brand.
Yes.
And I know I do have to wrap up in a moment because it always goes by so fast, but are there anything else that you hadn't mentioned or that I hadn't mentioned that either of you wanted to?
It's more like we want to be, you know, a resource for the City of Lynn. City of Lynn is great, it's very diverse, it has everything that you need. You don't really have to go anywhere. So we want to be that resource for you, and we want to make sure that whatever you're looking for, you could contact us. And even if you're just looking to have a chat, drink a coffee, tell us even about your ideas and your businesses, we're more than happy to help because we were all there at one point. So we know how kind of like not to, you know, fall into these cracks or these rabbit holes. And being an entrepreneur and a business professional sometimes gets very lonely when you're always out there just chasing the business. We want you to chase connections. We want you to chase collaborations. So we're just trying to be here. Be for you guys. We are a resource for the city, and I hope we get to connect more and actually be here more with you, Danny.
All right.
Yeah. And then I'll add one thing. Is that okay?
Okay, yeah. Do it.
Just because, you know, because the people think like, oh, do I have to own a business or to be a part of Millennium Latino project? But no, you don't. You can, you know, just be somebody who wants to be a part of something because our community-driven events are open to everybody. So just wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
Yeah, perfect. So I don't think I could have anything to add to that because you both did awesome with that. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on to really connect with us and talk about this amazing nonprofit.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
Of course, anytime. And once again, I'm Danny Vittori. This has been the Lynn Lowdown, and we'll see you next week with more guests. Classical fans had a great Friday as their baseball and softball teams beat Everett. Their baseball team posted a 10-0 shutout behind a complete game, 8-strikeout outing by Roki Bree. 3 additional Rams posted multi-hit games. A complete 180 saw a 12-11 thriller in softball. Everett had the tying run on third with 2 outs, and Emma Pinto made the game-sealing play for the Rams. Nevaeh Eith had another monster day, going 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 3 runs scored. From there, both teams took on Revere with varying levels of success. Rams softball saw their 5-game winning streak snapped in a 10-6 10-inning final. In baseball, the 15-4 Classical was the victor, 11-4, behind a 4 1/3 inning 7-strikeout performance by Christian Figueroa. Mark Walsh, Ronald Bree, and Damon Munoz all had a hand in the scoring, combining for 5 RBIs and 6 runs scored. While St. Mary's went 2-1 in their last 3 games. First, they owned Holliston 12-1 off 3 hit games by Kyle Donnie, Michael DeMaine, and Jaden Driscoll. But they struggled against Arlington Catholic, dropping a 2-1 final on Sunday. But the Spartans were back in the win column, hosting and beating St. John's Prep under the lights on Monday night. Jake Zimmerman went 6 innings, allowing just 4 hits while striking out 7 for the win. On the offensive side, DeMano went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run scored. English baseball had an up-and-down week. The Bulldogs beat Somerville 5-2 on the road, but they hosted and fell to Medford 9-6 on the 21st. At 6-14, the Tigers are struggling this season. Most recently, they suffered a double-digit 11-1 loss to Greater Lawrence Tech. After their 7-game win streak was snapped, Spartan softball bounced back in a 10-3 win versus Newton. St. Mary's finished with 14 total hits, led by Olivia DeCessa with 3. Abby Sosa also launched a first-run, 2-run homer to give the Spartans an early lead. The highlight of the week came when an undefeated Monomoy team came to town. The visitors entered with a 16-0 record and left at 16-1, following a 10-6 victory by the Spartans. Angelina Awumi registered 3 RBIs on 2 hits, while Sosa went 3 for 4 with the run scored. St. Mary's currently holds the 5th seed in Division III MIAA Power Rankings. On senior night, Classical was firing on all cylinders, with a 3-set win over Chelsea. Fittingly, 2 seniors had strong nights. Leonardo Cruz Noguera had 13 kills and 4 digs, with Luca Loprore tacking on 8 digs and an ace. Lynn Tech continues to roll as well, beating Whittier Tech 3-1 behind a dominant 31 assist, 10 dig, 5 ace performance by Elmer Duran. Didier Jacques Jr. was another dominant force, adding on 16 kills, 6 digs, 3 aces, and 3 blocks. The Tigers are now 15-4 late in their season. Boston is officially out of the playoffs, falling to the New York Knicks in 6 games. Meanwhile, the baseball season has not even reached the halfway point. The Red Sox remain average, hovering around a .500 record for most of the year. They did beat the New York Mets 3-1 on the 19th and 2-0 on the 20th. On the 19th, Jarren Duran registered his 6th triple of the year while driving in a run. The 20th was less than smooth sailing, as both pitcher Walker Buehler and manager Alex Cora were ejected from the game in the 3rd inning. But the bullpen stepped up in a big way, completing the 5.5-inning shutout for Boston. The only scoring came on homers from Carlos Narvaez and Rafael Devers in the 5th. Boston lost the series finale 5-1. Final Fridays are back for 2025, and they are bigger and better than ever. Jah'Nyah Spencer was back on the Lowdown, explaining what Step Into Your Power means to her and the changes she has made to the program over the last 3 years. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Lynn Lowdown, and today we welcome back Jah'Nyah Spencer of the Lynn Museum to discuss Final Fridays. Thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Danny. I'm so excited to be here.
I know, I can tell. I said I'm really excited to hear all about this. And now Final Fridays has been around for about 6 years now, and I've gone to some the last couple of years and they've been amazing. But each year you focus on different community needs. I know that's a big part of the theme. So what community needs were you discussing this year?
That's a really interesting question. So when Final Fridays originated back in 2020, when they decided to start the program in 2020 during the pandemic, one of the big community needs that they wanted to focus on was connection. You know, because at the time, like, we were all social distancing, we weren't really going out as much, and being able to have like community members come and like still like be able to shop, then connect in a way that felt safe was a really big. It was a really big impact that was made at the time. But that was back in 2020, right?
Right, yeah.
And when I got hired on in 2023, at the beginning of 2023, I think we were still kind of like focusing on like just like bridging that gap after COVID. And then after doing that for another year in 2024, after having a lot of conversations with a lot of different stakeholders, a lot of different community members, a lot of different artists like myself, one big conversation that kept coming up was we don't know how to target BIPOC youth. We don't know how to market events to them. We don't know how to cater to them.
Right.
And that was a big conversation that I kept having with a lot of different people that typically run, you know, like vending markets, festivals, that kind of thing. And I was like, well, I don't think it's that hard. I mean, at least I didn't think so. But I was coming from a different perspective, right? Because, you know, I'm also a young artist. I'm a Black woman as well, and I'm going to school. And I was like, well, with a lot of the other artists and creators that I get to connect with, I think that this is a great opportunity for me to restructure Final Fridays to meet that need, right?
Yep.
Because a conversation that I've had with so many young artists and creators that look like me, it's always one of two things. It's always they feel like there's not events here in Lynn that are catered to them specifically, or they feel like they don't have what it takes to put their artistry out there, or they feel like they have to put in more work on the sidelines or in private before they can show off who they are.
Yeah.
And I can understand, you know, wanting to take time on your craft and wanting to take time before you put yourself out there. But if you're not willing to connect, if you're not willing to go to events, if you're not willing to show your skills off, no one's going to know who you are.
Right.
And no one's going to want to book you. No one's going to work with you because they just don't know who you are. Right? And I think being able to take Final Fridays to focus on that is very important. But even within just focusing more on like the 16 to 25 BIPOC youth demographic in the arts, I also think having each year of Final Fridays having a different theme of what we want people engaging with the program to focus on is also important, because things are always changing, right? We're always changing as people, and we're always experiencing new things. And when you experience new things, like, you start to look at things differently, you start to show up differently, right? And I think being able to have people come in and have a specific thing in mind, like whether that's like new beginnings, what new things do you want to try? That's what we did last year. Like, what new people do you want to meet? Like, what's something new you want to try? Something like that.
Yeah. And this year it's Step Into Your Power. That's the theme you chose, which I love that. I absolutely love that. And so what led you to the decision to choose that? And then also, what does that really mean to you when you were thinking about it?
That's a good question. So when I was coming up for the theme for this year, like I said, I'm also an artist as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like my artistry and where I'm coming from plays a really big part in how I want others to engage with the space. So for me, with being a full-time college student, also being a professional artist, also trying to have a social life, also trying to be someone's child, someone's sister, someone's friend, I spent a lot of time always thinking about the external things, right? Always thinking about how can I show up for this better? How can I be better for this? But never always thinking about how can I be better for myself? How can I be better in my artistry? How can I step into my power, right? And I think being able to have that conversation with myself on how I want to show up better for myself is also a great segue to have other creatives do the same thing, right? Because like I was saying before, we all have this spark. We all have this thing within us that's very special, right? But it's really easy to shrink, and it's really easy to forget, and it's really easy to get distracted by all these external things, right? That make us forget who we are. And I just think it's really important to step into your power. And I think it's really important to remember who you are, But that's why I decided that theme. I was like, I feel like with where everything's going, and I feel like just with a lot of like changes just in the world, like now is a time that we have to be very clear on like who we are, what we want, and not waver for anyone or anything.
I know, and that's even what you were saying to me before we came on, not listening as much to others. If this is something that you want to do that is right for yourself, go for it, do it. Really embrace the fact that you are powerful, that you are important, that your art is amazing, and don't listen to all the noise around you that can be so easy to make you think, oh, well, I'm not that important. I'm just small.
Exactly. You have to turn all the noise off. You have to. It's so, 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 so important.
And that's part of what these events do. They sort of turn off the noise, turn on the focus in Frederick Douglass Park, which is an awesome venue, first of all, because you have the stage, you have the area where vendors can work, so it's a good combo. And this year, so you're bringing back some of the same themes like Graffiti Get Down, the Fashion Week. How did you both use the themes that people clearly loved last year, but also mix in some new material or some new engagement?
Yes, that's a great question. I think one of the best things about having a series that focuses on different forms of art is really cool, because there's always going to be different people that either got to witness it last year or got to hear about it from after, and they're like, damn, I wish I could have been a part of that. And it's like, but don't worry, when next year rolls around, there's going to be an opportunity for you to come back, right?
Yeah, there you go.
And also too, like, even like kind of what I was saying, like with changing like the overall theme for the program every year, from going from new beginnings or to step into your power, having these different themes while maintaining the same events allows for this flow of expressing yourself in a different way and stepping into the space in a different way. Like with Spoken Soul, for example, the first one that we're doing on May 30th. That one is really great because it's just a big excuse to just like pour your heart out on stage. It's a great excuse to just be vulnerable. It's a great excuse to just show who you are unapologetically, right? And like I said, with last year, New Beginnings, like a lot of our performers, they focus most of their sets on like stepping into this new space within themselves. Where it's like, show me your skill. Show off, brag. I love to brag. you know, but it's nice to just have like that space where you could just, like I said, unapologetically just be yourself and just do what you're good at and show that off. Like that's really, really dope. And the way how that can translate to other events like, you know, Fashion Week or Graffiti Get Down or even the dance battle, it's great seeing how these different themes click things in someone, you know?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of art is you really never know what you're going to see. You never see the same thing twice. It's always different, which I feel like is more engaging. It's so exciting to see what are they going to come up with? What are they going to show? You know, what elements of themselves are they really going to show off to people, which is incredibly brave and confident. I will say that. Yeah,
because it's an energy. Yeah, it's an energy, and I think that's the really cool thing about Final Fridays too is that when I'm putting the show together and I'm putting together, you know, the schedule and stuff, I care a lot about the energy that it's going to give off. You know, not just for the audience, but also like what the performers or anyone that we're paying that's coming is going to get out of it. You know, like I want people to leave being like, wow, I just had a great time. Yeah. Or like, wow, I just learned something new about myself. Or like, wow, like I'm really passionate about this. Or wow, I just had a great conversation. Like I want you to leave feeling like this. I want you to leave feeling aligned. Yeah. You know, which is, I think that's really, really important when it comes to event planning, because you could just throw stuff together and be like, oh, we'll just bring this person to come perform, or we'll just do this, or we'll just do that. It's like, no, this is a curated experience. Like, and when you have an experience, you want people to leave with something valuable. Like, that's very, very, very important to me.
Which you definitely do, and you can tell in the passion and all the work that you do, because it's not just the performers. You can also have people sign up as vendors, volunteers. There's other ways to get involved, too.
Or designers, or live artists. There's so many different things, or dancers, like, and I think that's a great thing about it too, is that like it's not just one type of art, it's like all these different forms.
No, you could have 50 different kinds of art and just see what people bring to it.
Exactly.
No, and I do have to ask a few of the little like nitty-gritty questions of, you know, the when and where of it, and what's the deadline for anyone to sign up? Like, let's say you want to be a vendor, volunteer, perform. What are those deadlines?
So Final Fridays will be happening at Frederick Douglass Park all throughout the summer. Our dates for the program are May 30th, June 27th, July 25th, and August 29th. And like I said, each event will be celebrating a different form of art. So first one we have coming up is Spoken Soul. Our next one is Fashion Week, Graffiti Get Down, Rhythm Royale. All just really dope, amazing events. What else did you want me to say?
Just, is there a deadline for if you want to sign up to be vendor, performer, fill in the blank?
So if you would like to be a vendor or a volunteer, we will be accepting applications on a rolling basis. If you check out the Lynn Museum Instagram page or my personal Instagram page, you'll be able to find the applications. Like I said, we're accepting applications on a rolling basis, but we typically ask people to get their applications for a specific event at least 10 days before the event. You know, because things are always changing and stuff. Yeah, of course. And we also really just want to give an opportunity for anyone to just come. Like, we don't, like, even with vendors, like, we don't charge vendor fees. You know, we want to make this as accessible as possible, which is really important.
It is. No, you just switch into business mode right there. I asked for the details. You went, I got this.
You know, gotta.
You did. You went, I got it. It's just going to come.
Yeah, it's that quick, yeah.
And I know we could probably talk about this all day, but I do have to wrap up in a moment. But was there anything else I hadn't mentioned that you want to discuss for this event?
That's a great question. So like Danny and I were talking about, the theme for Final Fridays this year is Step Into Your Power. Now, with that being said, whether you're a performer, a vendor, volunteer, or just someone looking to have a good time, I really want you to take the time to explore what stepping into your power means to you, how you want to show up, not just as an audience member, but maybe as a creative, as a family member, as a person. What does that really mean to you, and how can you better show up for yourself?
All right. Well, there's literally nothing I can do to possibly top that. You just nailed it. But thank you so much for coming on, talking about this. It's always a pleasure.
It is always a pleasure. I'm so happy to be back.
Always happy to have you back. And come check out Final Fridays this summer. I'm Danny Vittori. This has been Lynn Lowdown, and we'll see you next week with more guests. Join Lynn and Swampscott Veteran Services for their annual Memorial Day celebration on May 26th. Anyone wishing to participate in the procession should meet at the Manning Fields parking lot at 1 p.m. The procession will step off at 1:30 p.m. and arrive at Pine Grove Cemetery for a ceremony at 2 p.m. The ceremony will include speeches from officials and performances honoring those who made the ultimate sacrifice for their country. And spend your Saturday morning at the Lynn Fire, Lynn Police Family Fun Day from 10 a.m. to noon on May 31st. You can participate in the Fire Police Family Fun Day 5K, the free kids race, or simply come down for a morning of fun. In addition to the races, there will be bouncy houses, food, and touch-a-truck with the fire engines and police cruisers. The Unitarian Universalist Church of Greater Lynn is launching a D&D role-playing group and are welcoming all interested 6th graders and up. Whether you are an experienced player or beginner, come for this fun, collaborative experience. They meet twice a month on Sundays from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. Their next meeting will take place on June 1st. Adults are also welcome to join the group. Just like this month, that brings us to the end of another edition of the LCTV News. But you can learn more about the stories covered, as well as upcoming events and ways to get involved by following @Lynn Community TV on social media. To become more in tune with how the city is run, check out our government programming, along with press releases and an extensive community calendar on lyntv.org. If videos are more your thing, then head to Lynn Community Television on YouTube. I'm Danny Vittori, this is LCTV News, and we will see you next week.
This episode of the LCTV News is brought to you by Leo Inc., Daolis Brothers Construction, and King Movers and Storage.